Welcome back to the FITTS SPSS Masterclass, and I'm excited to have you here. In our previous lesson, we confirmed that our scale variables were approximately normally distributed, and that was an important step because many statistical techniques require this assumption before they can be used. And now that we've checked normality, we are ready to investigate whether two variables are related. And today's lesson introduces one of the most commonly used statistical techniques in research, and that is correlation analysis. And by the end of this lesson, you will understand what correlation measures, when it should be used, and how to interpret the results before we move into SPSS. Researchers often want to know whether two variables move together, and correlation helps answer these kinds of research questions. And instead of comparing groups, correlation measures whether changes in one variable are associated with changes in another. And throughout this lesson, we will use our data set to answer these questions. Correlation measures the relationship between two variables. A positive correlation means both variables increase together, and a negative correlation means one variable increases while the other decreases. And that takes me back to the law of demand and supply. So if you're an economic student, you know what I'm talking about. So if there is no obvious pattern, then there is little or no correlation. Remember that correlation only measures association. Pearson's correlation is designed for continuous scale variables. The six scale variables in our dataset are suitable for today's lesson. Categorical variables such as gender and primary platform are inappropriate for Pearson's correlation. And this reinforces the importance of understanding measurement levels before choosing a statistical test. That is why this course is not about learning to click buttons, but understanding what's behind the clicks. Not every data set requires Pearson's correlation. If your variables are ordinal or the assumption of Pearson are not met, Spearman's correlation may be more appropriate. And for the fact that our scale variables passed the normality assessment in the previous lesson, Pearson correlation is the obvious choice here. Not the correlation coefficient represented by the letter R tells us two things. First, the direction of the relationship. Second, the strength of the relationship. And values close to +1 indicate a strong positive relationship, and values close to -1 indicate a strong negative relationship. And values close to 0 indicate little or no linear relationship. The size of R helps us describe how strong the relationship is. So when interpreting strength, we ignore whether the value is positive or negative. Instead, we focus on how close the value is to 1. So later in SPSS, we will use these categories when interpreting our results. The correlation coefficient tells us how strong the relationship is. The p-value tells us whether the relationship is statistically significant, and both pieces of information are needed before making a conclusion. Never interpret one without the other. One of the biggest mistakes researchers make is assuming that correlation proves cause and effect. Finding a relationship simply means the variables change together. It does not tell us that one variable caused the other. Always avoid making causal conclusions from correlation alone. We've now covered the theory, and next we're going to move into SPSS. We will perform Pearson's correlation using our dataset, interpret the correlation matrix, and answer our research question using real data. Welcome back. We've now completed a theory behind correlation analysis. So it's time to apply what we've learned using SPSS. Throughout this demonstration, we will answer one research question. Is there a relationship between the number of hours students spend on social media and their GPA? And we will also explore relationship between several other variables in our data set. Remember that in our previous lesson, we confirmed that these variables were approximately normally distributed. And since they are also measured at a scale level, Pearson's correlation is the appropriate statistical test. Let's begin. And before running any statistical analysis, it's always a good practice to review the variables you'll be analyzing. And notice that our data set contains both categorical and what scale variables. And you can see here. And today we'll only analyze the scale variable because Pearson's correlation is designed for continuous numerical data. And the variables we're going to use will be the age, okay, hours on social media, GPA, study hours, sleep hours, and the stress score. And variables such as gender, academic level, primary platform, and participant ID will not be suitable for Pearson's correlation because they are categorical or serve only as identifiers. So I want us to switch back to data view. Let's check if everything is okay here. And now we will need to perform the Pearson's correlation in SPSS. So we're going to select Analyze. And since we are dealing with correlation, you go through the list, you see correlate, then we have what? Bivariate, okay? So I'm going to click on that, and this will open our bivariate correlations, dialog box. So what I'm going to do now is to select all the scale variables that meet the assumption of Pearson's correlation, and we saw that in our last episode. So I'm going to do a control, hold on the control, select all the 6 scale variables. So how many have you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'll move them into the variables section. And before running the analysis, I want us to take a moment to understand the available options, okay? And when you check the correlation coefficient, Pearson is selected because our variables are continuous and approximately normally distributed. Then we have the Kendall-Stahl is also another correlation coefficient typically used for ordinal data or situations involving many tied ranks. And this isn't appropriate for today's data set. Then we also have the Spearman correlation, which is commonly used for ordinal variables or when the assumptions required for Pearson's correlation have not been met. And since our variables pass the normality test in the previous lesson, Pearson remains the correct choice. And we also have the two-tailed selected. And the two-tailed test examines whether a relationship exists in either direction, whether positive or negative. So unless your research hypothesis specifically predicts one direction, this is generally the preferred option. And we will also leave the flat significance correlations selected. And SPS will automatically place an asterisk beside statistically significant relationships, making them much easier to identify in the output. Okay. And let's look at one more thing, which is the options button. Okay. So I want us to look at it. So the first option, which is mean and standard deviation, allows us to display descriptive statistics. Okay. For that. And I'll leave this selected. So I'm going to select that option so that it provides useful background information before interpreting the relationship. Okay. And when you go to the missing values section, maybe I'll need to do a little bit of explanation here. Okay. So the first option is exclude cases pairwise. And this means SPSS uses all available data for each individual pair of variables. For example, imagine a participant forgot to answer one question but completed all the others. So with pairwise exclusion, SPSS only ignores that participant for analysis involving the missing variable. And the participant's remaining data can still be used when analyzing other variable pairs. And this approach usually retains more data and often results in a larger sample size for each correlation. Then when you look at the exclude cases list-wise, with this method, if a participant has even one missing value anywhere in the selected variables, SPSS removes the participant from the entire analysis. And although this produces a consistent sample size across all correlations, it can substantially reduce the number of observations if there are many missing values. So the appropriate choice depends on your research and the extent of missing data. So list-wise exclusion is often preferred when researchers want every analysis to be based on exactly the same participant. And pairwise exclusion is useful when preserving as much information as possible is your priority. So for today's lesson, however, our data set contain no missing values. So either options will produce exactly the same result. So I'll leave the default setting unchanged. So I'm going to click on continue and we click on OK to check our output. So the first table presents descriptive statistics for each variable. So you can see all of that here. And here we can see the number of valid observations along with the mean and what standard deviation. And although these statistics aren't the focus of today's lesson, they provide useful context before we examine the relationship between variables. This table contains the result of our correlation analysis. And although it may appear complicated initially, every relationship is represented in exactly the same way. Each cell contains three pieces of information, which is the Pearson correlation, the SIG, which is the two-tailed, and the third, which is N, the number of observations used to calculate that correlation. And because every variable has 15 observations, you'll notice that N equals 15 throughout the matrix. So let's begin interpreting the result. We're going to start with the age, right? So the age of participants in complete years. So you notice that the age has small correlation coefficient with all the other variables. For example, the relationship between age and what social media hours is what? 0.304 with a p-value of 0.270. And the relationship between age and what? GPA is negative 0.364 and a p-value of what? 0.182. And similarly, the relationship between with the study hours, I beg your pardon, sleep hours and stress score all have p-values greater than what? 0.05. And because every p-value is greater than 0.05, we conclude that age is not significantly related to any of the other variables in this dataset. And this demonstrates an important point. Not every variable will show a statistically significant relationship, and that's perfectly acceptable in research. So when you look at the social media hours, which is this particular row, I want us to answer our research question. And we are interested in the relationship between the average number of hours spent on social media per day and the current grade point average, okay? And the Pearson correlation coefficient is what? Minus 0.986. And I want you to take notice of the negative sign. So this tells us that as social media use increases, GPA tends to decrease, and the value itself is extremely close to -1, indicating an exceptionally strong negative relationship. And when you look at the SIG two-tailed value, SPSS is reporting what? 0.1000. Okay, so whenever SPSS displays 0.000, it doesn't mean the probability is exactly 0. It means the p-value is less than 0.001, which is far below our significant level of what? 0.05. And this tells us the relationship is statistically what? Significant. So therefore, based on this data set, we can confidently conclude that there is an extremely strong, statistically significant negative relationship between social media use and GPA. I believe you get the point now. Okay. Next, we're going to examine the social media hours and what? Study hours. So the correlation coefficient is what? 0.968. Okay. And again, this is an extremely strong negative word, relationship. And students who spend more time on social media tend to spend fewer hours studying, and the p-value is also less than 0.001. So this relationship is also statistically what? Significant. Then when we look at sleep hours, okay, social media usage and sleep hours, the correlation coefficient is what? 0.974, which also indicates another extremely strong negative relationship. And students who spend more time on social media also tend to sleep fewer hours each night. And again, the relationship is statistically significant because the p-value is below what? 0.001. And when we check the stress score, here the correlation coefficient is what? 0.991. And notice that this time the coefficient is what? Positive. So check that. The coefficient here is what? Positive. So which also means that as social media use increases, perceived stress also what? Increases. And the coefficient is extremely close to what? +1, making this an exceptionally strong positive relationship. So once again, the p-value is below what? 0.001, confirming that the relationship is statistically what? Significant. And when researchers analyze a correlation matrix, they don't focus on only one relationship. They examine the entire table. So an example is that the GPA has a very strong positive relationship with study hours, and it also has a very strong positive relationship with sleep hours. However, GPA has a very strong negative relationship with stress score, and together, these results provide a broader understanding of how the variables relate to one another within the data set. So there's an important reminder for you. And although these relationships are very strong, it's important to remember one principle. Correlation does not imply causation. And our analysis shows that these variables are associated with one another. It does not prove that spending more time on social media directly causes lower grades or higher stress. Establishing cause and effect requires different research designs and statistical approaches. And finally, let's see how these results will be reported in a research paper. So a suitable APA style statement would read, a Pearson product movement correlation was conducted to examine the relationship between average daily social media use and current grade point average. And the analysis revealed an extremely strong, statistically significant negative correlation between the two variables, R being 13, which is equal to minus 0.986 with a p-value less than what? 0.001. And notice that the report identifies the statistical test, the variables, the correlation coefficient, and the significance level. And this is the standard format used in academic writing. So we've now completed our first inferential statistical analysis in SPSS. And today you've learned how to choose the appropriate variables, understand the Pearson correlation dialog box, work with missing value options, run Pearson's correlation, interpret the correlation matrix, answer a research question using statistical evidence, and report your findings in APA style. And more importantly, you've seen how researchers move beyond simply generating output to interpreting what the results actually mean. Today, we've learned what correlation is, when Pearson's correlation should be used, how to interpret the correlation coefficient, and why statistical significance is important. And most importantly, we've learned that the relationship between two variables does not automatically mean that one variable causes the other. And if you've enjoyed the lesson up until this point, and if you've not subscribed, please do like and share. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.